us today is a very special day. Today is the beginning of a 4-week series together with Kiki, where we're going to be talking about employability. And I think a big part of employability is not just getting a job, but getting your dream job where it's aligned to your life purpose. It's got an amazing team, and this amazing organization is not only creating an impact, but also developing you individually to create an impact. And I think that's something so important, because then everyone wins and succeeds so much faster. So this is session 1 out of 4 sessions, exclusively sponsored by Study NSW through the International Student Department to support you guys. So it's 1 out of 22 sessions that we're doing out of the masterclasses for impact. So today's exclusive topic is employability versus availability, or 2 different things. Not everyone's available, not everyone is looking for a job, but also when we're looking for a job, are we making ourselves available in the right places? So I love that Kike, who's an expert in this topic of hiring and training everybody up, now he's presenting to help you guys. Once upon a time, Kike was an international student, right? How long ago was that? We actually, guys, for those of you that are logging in, we actually met at university. We were both doing a master's about 10 years ago, I think.
Yeah, it was like 12 years ago, I think.
Wow.
It was a long time ago.
Wow. Yes. And it's so important to always develop yourself, develop the skills, but also develop the skills and be able to put them in the real world. So this session is recorded on Zoom. It's live streamed on Facebook, and it is also going up on YouTube. So hello from wherever it is that you're logging in, and feel free to turn on your camera, ask us questions at the end. So before we start, I thought it'd be nice for Kiki to show you a little about his journey, because he's gone from entrepreneur to intrapreneur, and this is why he's so good at this topic, because he can speak from the point of view of someone that's hiring, but he's also applied for a job. He's been an international student. So Kiki, what was your journey? What countries have you lived in, and how did you end up in Australia?
Yeah, that's a good question. Actually, when we met, Pao, it was obviously in Australia. I was an international student. I came with a student visa. I tried to get a job in Australia, which I couldn't at the time because of the visa situation. Australia was a lot more restrictive than it is now for international students. We weren't allowed even to work, I believe, at the time. But yeah, so basically, my journey's been from studying in different countries to having my own business in Chile, which was Publicat. And from that business growing into other businesses parallel to that one. And yeah, and obviously I've been at Google now for over 10 years. And during those 10 years, so just for context, when you change job at Google, when there's a job that you like that's not the one that you're currently doing, you have to apply and compete with internal and external candidates. So you go through a whole different process, or rather, you go through the same process that anyone would go through to get that job, and you don't necessarily get any preference for being already in Google. So I've had, I think, 7 or 8 jobs at Google where I've had to build that CV from the ground up, interview multiple times for those roles, prepare for the roles. And not just at Google, I like to often interview outside of Google as well, and just keep an eye out on like what's in the market. I've been at Google for over 10 years. I love the company and what we do. But it's always good to like keep an eye out and find ways to develop further in your career. So yeah, like I'm definitely very familiar with this topic, and I'm super keen to take you guys through.
And I love your creativity when you are applying for the jobs inside Google, and also how you first got your job at Google. Do you want to share with us? Because I find it like,
Sure.
I've had a lot of people telling me about strategies, but nothing beats the strategy that you used to get into Google. It was another level of creativity and persistence, and yeah, please share to inspire us.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've definitely seen a lot of creative things, but the way I approached it when I was still a student in Australia, I applied to Google and I didn't get the job because of the visa. So what I thought was, okay, so if the visa is an issue, then I'm gonna apply to Google in Chile So Google Chile was just opening. So Google Latam actually was just opening operations. They were hiring pretty senior-ish people at the time. Obviously, it was like when I applied, it might have been maybe within the first month of operations in Latam. So what I did is that I did a marketing campaign with my CV. I had a marketing blog at the time. And in the blog, I had one page that was my CV. So there was an online landing site for my CV. And I targeted, I think it was 5 or 10K around the Google office in Chile, Colombia, and Peru, which was where they were opening offices. So I thought if you're going to work at Google, you probably live nearby or you work in the office, so you see the ads. And I had a search and a display campaign. So the display campaign was anyone targeted into this area searching topics similar to like employability or hiring or anything like that, you would get an ad, a display ad with one account strategist, which was the job that I was applying at the time. It was just a question: need an account strategist? Check out my resume, and then a link to my file. And then for search was the same. If you were searching for anything related to employability or hiring or talent, you would get. I had a lot of keywords. But yeah, it was a highly targeted ad campaign using Google AdWords with my CV. And the country director at the time that had just been hired saw it. And he was super impressed, and they offered me the job. Obviously, I had to go through, I think, 7 or 8 interviews, a written exam, because I was quite junior at the time. I had only had a consulting job at Price Waterhouse, and I worked in Adidas in marketing, and they were looking for a little bit more senior people than that. So a lot of interviews and everything, but in the end of the day, it turned out really well.
And that's the thing with life, right? We always need to look at ways that we can stand out and do it in a creative way. Because if you had just sent a normal CV, maybe you wouldn't even be called for the first one. The fact that you went above and beyond, like the other day I saw, I don't know, somewhere on social media, but there was this girl that wanted to intern at Spotify, and she designed her resume to look like the Spotify account. So her photo was like the photo of the album, and then it had like literally the same colors and buttons and formats and fonts. And then she didn't apply through the original way. She posted on Twitter and tagged the CEO. And she not only got given the job as an intern, but she got hired straight away. And she got interviewed by the CEO of head office. And that's life. Like, that's what we need to do. This is why it's so important to do what you love. And I absolutely love the topic that you chose to start this first out of 4 series. So before we progress into starting, please connect with us, connect with Kiki on LinkedIn, on Instagram, connect with the entrepreneurs with Study New South Wales, because we exist to help you succeed. This is why we're here. So please connect with us so we can hear about your success story, share with us your progress, but also if you've got any questions, just contact us. We're here to support you. So Kiki, over to you. What are we going to be learning about? And I'm going to mute myself, and you just press on next, and then I will help you with the next buttons.
Sounds good. So first of all, like, I think in this 4-week series, what we're going to do is look at not just what you need to put on your CV or talk about in an interview, but I also want to take you guys through, because if you're still students, one of the burning questions I had as a student myself was, am I doing the right things that are going to help me have a career or go into the career of what I studied or what I would like in the future? And it's never too late to amend things or to do things in a certain way that will help you get that dream job that you want. I think that's what I want to focus on today. And then in the next couple of sessions, we will talk about interviewing and writing your CV. And then once you land that job, what are the things you need to be aware of, at least when you start a new job in a company where you want to succeed and where you want to start your career. So today we're going to talk about, before you begin your career, what are those things you need to do? Then once you're ready to start, where do you begin? Which was a big question I had as well at the time. And then once you've found something, So what are the next steps? Like how do you go about applying for that job and getting those jobs? So let's go to the next one. So I wanted to name this session employability versus availability, because often we think like, oh, we're employable because we're available, and they're not the same thing. Like, being available doesn't mean that you will get a job. You need to have certain things that companies are looking for, and when you're a student, you don't have the number one thing that companies look for, which is experience. So what are those things that you can have as a student to go on applying for your first job? So next one. Before you start your career, if you will go to the next one. So the main thing is, next one. Hello? We lost the, there we go. It's all good. Anyways, so before you start your career, it's two different things: starting a job and starting your career. Like, anyone can have a job, but starting your career is when you really have to put thought and be a little bit pickier of what you want to do. So to start your career, first you need to show that you're willing to do the work. So you need to show ambition. That means do things that show that you want to succeed in a corporate environment or in your own business. So start a little business. Like, it could be something as very simple as reselling things on Gumtree, or like mowing the lawn for your neighbors, or washing cars. One of my first jobs was fixing boats when I lived in Panama. I had a very, very small business before I had the one I sold before I started the one I sold in 2012. It was a very small business. It was literally washing cars at a golf club. And from there, we ended up hiring people to do the washing for us, and then it started expanding. And it wasn't making a lot of revenue. The people actually washing the cars were making most of the money, as it should be. But it was a super interesting experience that it taught me a lot about how businesses work in general. And I put it in my CV when I applied for Google, and they were actually looking for that entrepreneurial and independent thinking, which is what it really attracts employers. So no employer is gonna say that they don't want somebody with an entrepreneurial thinking or way of doing things. Another way you can show ambition is volunteering. So volunteering is great. Obviously, if you need to have a job, then do your job. If you can volunteer, there's great way. It's amazing to build up new skills. If you can afford to do that, that's also a great way to network and meet new people, which is highly, highly valuable when you're looking for a job. Next one. So I'd say where to start. Obviously, show that ambition, and to show the ambition, you need to get that first job. So I wish I could do this is the problem with the online world. I can't ask you guys to raise your hands, but I'd be asking you right now, like, how many of you have had a first job? And I would hope that a lot of you have. If you haven't, then it's a good time to do that. It could be something as working on retail. It doesn't have to be exclusively something that you want to have a career on. If you can have something related to your career, that's perfect, but it doesn't have to be. Like I say here, working on retail, it will teach you things about customer service. In a restaurant, if you want to have a career in a restaurant, you'll learn things about basic business and fundamentals, like inventory management, food safety, even customer care as well. So taking that first step is super key. Next one. And I think
say that even working at McDonald's, like, it's one of the best schools ever, because you learn customer service and teamwork and systems. Everything adds value, literally everything.
Yeah, and you'll be genuinely using those learnings for the rest of your career. Like, I still do things that I learned while I was interning, while I was volunteering, or while I was in my first jobs or like running my first business. Like even if it's just the way you treat people, the way that you talk to, that you negotiate with suppliers, you will be learning those things. I think if we go to the next one, often people will ask like, okay, but I don't know what to study. Sorry, I don't know what to go into, what my career wants, like what I want my career to be. So I'd say the first thing you need to do is make a list of the characteristics that you want in your ideal job. So you don't need to know right now what your ideal job is, but you should at least know roughly what are the things that you like about a job. So make a list, and that's like put it on one side. And if we go to the next one, some of the things that you might include in that list are, do you want to use your degree, the whatever you studied? Do you want to see an opportunity to see results of your work? So for example, when I worked in ads, I didn't necessarily see the results of what I was working on, but when I had my business and we would put an ad somewhere in out of home, then out of home I would see it, right? Like it was there, printed, posted on a wall or something. Whereas if it's digital, like I wouldn't necessarily see the results. I work in hardware now, so it's beautiful for me to walk into the store and see the phones that I'm working on, or like if I worked on a contract, I can see that a partner suddenly starts selling those phones. So really cool stuff, but you just have to choose the people that you work with, like what's your growth potential. Do you want to do, for example, if you choose to do a technical job, maybe your growth potential is not the same as if you choose to do an office job, right? And they're all valid questions and valid points. You just have to choose what are those things that matter for you. Proximity to home, I wanted to put it there because this is going to sound embarrassing, but genuinely, I chose the university I went to because it was the closest one to my house, and I chose my first two jobs because they were literally 5-minute drive from home, and I don't regret those decisions at all. The time that I gained from, and like all the things that I could do from being so close to my house, it's unbelievable. So obviously, not, if it's not for you, it's not for you, but for me, being close to my house was a massive thing. And having a nap in between classes when I had a 2-hour break was priceless at the time. So choose those key elements that you want to have in your career.
I like also
on
considering the lifestyle. Like, I don't know, if you're in, I don't know, you're a surfer, you might want a boss that you can surf with, you know, like in your lunch break, or the lifestyle of, like, I think I'm similar to you. I love creating things. So for me, if I was to work in a company where I'm just one person in a part of a big system, I wouldn't feel empowered and motivated. So small businesses or startups are attractive, but a lot of people that have opposite personality, they want to know that they're stable. Like we've got a friend who works at Dell, and it's just so good because it's step by step. She knows she'll be there forever. And it's not even about getting the promotion, but there's the stability. So it's important for you to see, like, what's your personality like? And it's okay to change along the way, but it's very important because when we're interviewing, I check those things. It's just like, why are you applying for the job? What attracted you into it? So,
and I think that's what you said about changing along the way is key. So for example, when I was in uni having extra time, it wasn't because I wanted to have a nap necessarily. It was because I was tired because I had 3 companies, 2 jobs, and I was studying at the same time. So I was super busy and I wanted to be close to home, which was also my office. And the jobs that I picked was also because I didn't want to waste time commuting when I had to also study, work, and be at home doing things for the business, right? Right now, if I had to choose, I would choose something where there's a good work-life balance where I can spend time with my wife and 2 kids. So it really varies throughout your career and throughout your life cycle, right? So really important to keep that list updated. And speaking of lists, we go to the next one. One of the other things you need to do is that list will help you choose what sort of job you're looking for, but then you need to get the job. And to get the job, you need to know what are the assets that you're bringing to the company or to the job specifically. So make another list and put it next to the, so make one for the job, make one for yourself, and what are the 8 to 10 most compelling assets that you have that you're bringing to that job. So that's also really important, because not only you'll be probably asked that in the interview, but if you're not, you really want to bring that up. And I've interviewed a lot of people where I've asked them, like, what do you think are your top 3 best assets? And they can name maybe 1 or 2. And they really struggle to find the third. And not even interviewing for a job. Ask a friend, like, ask yourself, tell me right away the top 3 things that you're really good at and that you bring to a company. And it might be hard to come by right away, you know, so make a list, think about it, because I promise you this in particular will be really good as a self, like, just to help you know yourself as well. So we go to the next one. So right now, is there, I don't know if we want to do, let's do questions at the end, actually. Let's just wrap up the deck and then we'll do questions. But so that's the first bit, is before you start your career, right? So now you're ready to start. If you're ready to start, there's certain things that you need to do as a student to make sure that you're employable and not just available, right? So one of them, for example, is manage your brand. Very important. Recruiters, hiring managers, they will look you up in social media. They will look you up online. So make sure that you have the right persona online that you want to represent. Like, you don't want to have, you want to keep it clean. I had to delete things from my Facebook account, for example, and from YouTube, of funny things that I thought were hilarious at the time when I applied to my first job, because I realized, like, oh, maybe being like a bit boozy on the beach and like burning things here, like making a giant firework thing, and like those are not the right things to have. Maybe they are if that's the kind of job you're applying to. I was applying for a consulting job in one of the biggest, like in one of the big 4 firms in Price Waterhouse, and they're a pretty serious company, and they will do that, their due diligence when they hire someone. They have to, because of the nature of their business. So I thought, I can't show that I'm a lewd, or like that I'm not a serious individual if that's the persona I'm trying to project. So definitely have a look at your social media, and things that are posted about yourself online. So manage your brand. That includes LinkedIn as well, obviously. Then you have to know where to start. I wasted a lot of time trying to find where to find jobs. Luckily, we have Google. We have tools from the Australian government as well that will help you find jobs. And ultimately, Seek is great. Indeed, LinkedIn. There's different tools. You can go to if you already know the company you want to work for, go to the company's website. Most companies, at least larger companies, have a careers section on their website. And that's a great way to start. And then the next one, I'd say, if I could give you a tip, would be, if we go to the next slide, would be to leverage your network. So before applying to positions that you consider, before applying to positions at a job or something, consider what your current network is. And this is where really your network could be anyone if you're a student. Don't think that because you haven't had a job, you don't have a network, because everyone's got a network. Could be your friend's parents that work at a company, could be your teacher that has a friend there, or could be somebody that you played football with. You name it. Anyone can be your network, especially because I promise you, people love to help. Especially if you're a student, you're struggling to find that job, or you want to even talk to somebody and get some advice. People love to give advice. People love to help. I'd say, as a rule of thumb, most people would love to help you out if they've had some sort of relationship with you or with somebody that's recommending you to talk to them. Like maybe don't go to somebody you have, like don't write to the CEO of a company and expect them to help you right away. That might not happen because they're not invested in it. But if you've had some sort of relationship with them, if you know their kids from school, or if you played hockey or whatever it is with like them in a team, or it could be anyone. So leverage your network would be my next tip. The next thing I would say is, if you can, be selective. So we talked a little bit before you get that job. Before you start your career, because getting a job and starting your career are very different things. Getting a job, you can get any job. But if you start your career, that's when you have to start thinking more selectively of what you want to do. So if I want to work, if I want to be a chef, probably a better idea to work as a waiter, even as a busboy, or as a sous chef, or even helping out in the kitchen, than working as a paper boy or working, I don't know, like doing something not related to the culinary industry. So my point here is, try to find something that will help you build the right skills that could potentially help you land a job in the industry that you want, or kick off that career that you want. So it's not as hard when you know what to do, and that's why I think when you know what you want to do, and that's why I think the list is important. If we go to the next one, some of the examples of this would be like, if you want to work at a restaurant, at a culinary arts, work at a restaurant, and try to do something in line with what you want to do. So let's skip 2 slides and we go to the next one. So next thing, so we've touched the first 2 points, which is before you start thinking of your career, then you're ready to start, where to search, what to do when you're ready to begin the process, and how to go about finding that right job. But then now you found something, right? And don't worry, like we will talk about interviews and resumes and all of that in the next sessions. But now you found something. So what now, right? So funny enough, I think people often, and it's happened to me, when I was in Australia and I wanted to stay here the first time, I applied to maybe like 80 jobs that I got rejected for all of them because of the visa and for different reasons, lack of experience or whatever it was. You need to keep track, because when they call you and you don't know, like what company was it and when did I apply? Like if you start asking yourself those questions, or even worse, asking the recruiter or the hiring manager, you're definitely not going to get that job. So you need to be super organized. If you're thinking of starting applying to jobs, do it immediately. As soon as you start with one, just open a spreadsheet, put the job that you've applied to, a link to the job description, the CV that you've sent. Hopefully it's personalized to that job specifically, and who you spoke to, when you applied. Just add as many data points as you can, because you will use that. Most likely you won't get the first job you apply to. I really hope for all of you that you do. But I don't know a lot of people that do get the first job that they apply to. So definitely a good rule of thumb to keep track of things that you've applied. The second thing I would say, once you found what you want to do, if we go to the next one, is research the company. So think about, is the company growing? Is their core business what you want to do as a career? What's their working culture like? So all these things, really you should start thinking about, because if the company's not where it's not headed where you want it to head, like if you're looking at a job at a company and the company is about to go broke, then you probably don't want to be applying to that company, because it doesn't really speak much about what your projections are going to be there, you know. Obviously hard to say with larger companies, but even go on Facebook. Like if you guys are on the, if you, I don't know if any of you are in Australia yet, but there's like Latinos in Australia or Latinos in Sydney, like Colombians in Sydney or Chileans in Sydney, and they often talk about like companies where they didn't pay the employees or the hiring manager was really mean. Just do your research, like you'll find stuff. Then the next one, and I think this is the most important one, is know the requirements. So before you apply to a job, you really, really have to carefully read the job description. And after you read it again. Read it again, because most job descriptions will have two parts in the job description. One will be what the minimum requirements are, and then what are the preferred requirements. So the minimum requirements, you want to meet all of them. The preferred requirements, you want to have 2 or 3. So if they want an MBA with 5 years of management experience and you don't have those, that experience, then you're wasting their time and you're wasting your time. And you probably will have a little mark in that company from those recruiters if they see your CV again, right? So don't waste their time. Don't waste your time. Read the requirements and try to meet all the must-haves for those roles. So if it's your first job and you want to kickstart your career, try to go in for those like grad roles. And then finally, if we go to the next one, I think this one I would have liked to do with my first job, for example. Yeah, this one. When I worked for a consulting firm, in retrospect, I wouldn't change it because I did learn a lot, especially about what I didn't want to do. I spent hours and hours working on stuff that I wasn't super excited about. I did learn a lot about different industries, but in the end, if I had visualized myself at the time getting that job, I probably wouldn't have gone for it. If I knew exactly what I needed to do. It was gonna be working every day until midnight. On Fridays, getting calls from my friends to go out and me saying I'm too tired or I'm still at work, and it was like 10 p.m. Like it's really harrowing in the beginning when you're in consulting. And at the time, like because I had my business and I wanted to come study in Australia, like probably I wouldn't have done that in retrospect if I had visualized myself. So just imagine, like, just think about it, like sportsmen do this all the time, and women, they visualize themselves winning, right? So visualize yourself, and then you realize, is it actually what you want to do? Is it, yeah, just think about it, and I think you'll find out.
And I think yes, figuring out stuff is good when you're interning, right? Because then you go in and you get the experience, and if you don't enjoy it, you can like just speak to the boss. And I think internships are so powerful, and it's exactly what you said, to find out what it is that you don't like, and it just gets you closer to your goal. And when you do what you love, like it's okay to work until midnight once a month if it's something that is really meaningful. But if that's not the lifestyle and it's not for a business that's aligned to your future career goals, you're not going to perform well. So your boss probably won't be too happy either. It's very important. Internships for me, and or volunteering, like you mentioned, even better. It's such an awesome thing on the CV. And you can be very honest in the interview. Just go, I'm really like this, and this is why I'm coming for this job because it's aligned, or I interned in these 3 companies, didn't like this. This is why I'm interviewing for this one, because this is the goal that I had. So powerful.
Yeah, and you don't have to, and internships are really, like, I think people look down on internships sometimes, but when you're applying for a job, if you didn't like it, I think that's like such a good point, Pao, because if you didn't like your internship, just go for another one when that one's over. You don't need to right away get a job and like get your forever job kind of thing like our parents probably did. There's a different way of thinking now, where it's okay to kind of move around a bit at the beginning of your career. You obviously don't want to have a different job every 3 months, But if you have a different internship every 3 months, that's not going to be looked down on by a recruiter or by a prospective employer. If you obviously get hired and then you quit or you get fired after 3 months and then you go for the next and the next, that tells a very different story. So interning is a very good way to
And in
find out
Australia,
what
I've
you
seen
like.
students interning in two places at the same time. So they test like a government position or a full-time and a part-time, sorry, a part-time in like in a small business and in a big business. So like interning across a couple, so you can also see the pros and cons, because every business has pros and cons. So if you could intern, I don't know, Thursday in one business and Friday in another, that's great. And then a weekend you can work in hospitality, which pays your bill, but then at least you're getting a little bit of like professional work experience, and it just gets you closer to understanding what it is, because we never know what we don't like until we've tested. Everything in a book or in a YouTube of the story of the company culture is very different to the reality. Like Google looks like it's a fun playground, but you guys work really hard and you work as a team and huge goals. So you still have to work hard regardless of what they promote in the culture. So
Yeah, absolutely.
very great.
Yeah, like jobs are hard. Jobs in general, like rule of thumb, the jobs are hard. So if you have a job that's too easy, then you won't be challenged and you won't like it. If you have one that's too hard, you probably find it too hard because it's not for you. It should be challenging. It shouldn't be too hard or too easy. It should just keep you active and engaged. I think that's what a good job will do.
And I think another really good thing is just going an extra mile, like just doing a little bit more than what you expected. Like if you're, I don't know, if you get a job in a reception of a really cool like co-working space, try to figure out how do they organize their events and how can you improve, I don't know, the relationship between them and the customers or the experience of check-in. And then as you're trying to innovate and come up with new ideas, the chance of you getting promoted or getting hired from an internship onwards, it's so big. Because we as managers, directors, whatever it is, whoever is mentoring you will be like, wow, this person's doing more than what they're expected. And even if you're doing an unpaid internship, first see if you should be getting paid, because a lot of internships in Australia legally, you guys should be getting paid. Whether it's paid or not, like it's still your job to do a good job. So be grateful as well for the opportunity. I think this was one, I was coming from Latin America as well when I started my first job here in Australia. And I remember I was shocked that this manager spent the whole day with me. And at the end, she thanked me. And I just went, you're thanking me? I should be thanking you for training me. But there's a beautiful culture in Australia of collaboration, right? Everyone's very grateful for the team and they say thank you. But you need to go an extra mile to be able to deliver results to get the thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually is a good segue to the next one. Just a quote from Steve Jobs, that the only way to do great work is to love what you do. If you haven't found it yet, keep looking and don't settle. So I think that's a fair point. Steve Jobs definitely had it right. You don't need to settle, especially if you're just starting. If you're 55 years old and you're like 5 years away from retirement and you want safety over the job that you love, then that's one thing. But if you're a student, you've got so many years ahead of you. You don't need to settle for something that you don't like in the beginning. And any experience, even if you didn't like it at first, is going to give you good talking points and good experience to showcase for your next job. That's probably the one that you will like more, or maybe the job of your dreams. So keep that in mind as well. So just to do a recap then on what we touched on today, there were three things. So number one, if we go to the next one, is before you start. So I wanted to have this all in one slide, but let's just go through it super quickly. So maybe we can do some questions. But yeah, before you start, show ambition. So volunteer and intern, start a small business, do something, you know. Then your first job might not kickstart your career, but it will give you valuable experience. And then the lists, guys. Like before you start, do make a list about your ideal job, and then next to it, put your 8 to 10 most valuable assets, and you'll see what are the things that you really bring into that job. And you realize like what's the sort of job that you want as well. So the lists are really, really important. And it's just will take you maybe half an hour. You'll be writing potentially like less than 100 words. So definitely make the effort, because it will have a good impact on your career. And then the next one, so before you start, then ready to hunt. So are you ready to begin the search? So know where to go to start, network, manage your brand online, especially. And if you can, when you're ready to hunt, start hunting for something and be selective. If you can't afford it, then that's fine as well. But if you can be selective, try to do something related to what your career and what your future path you envision it to be. And then finally, to wrap up, once you found something, what do? Make sure you've gone through the job requirements, read it again, research the company and the company culture, and finally visualize yourself getting that job. Often when we think we want something and we visualize ourselves getting it, it's often when you realize, like, did I actually want this? Maybe not so much. If you can try this, even if you're in between making a decision A or B, visualize yourself getting both. And if there's one that you're a little bit disappointed that you didn't get the other one, then maybe the other one was the right choice. So it's a powerful mental tool to try. And that's it for today. So that's, I think, my take on availability versus employability. Like I said, not the same thing. Being available doesn't mean you're employable. If you want to start your career, you need to make yourself employable. And to do that, you need to show the right things, or at least the right mindset. And this is what I think, these are the tools that will get you there, in my humble opinion, of course. And yeah, so next sessions that we'll have are writing a resume will be next Tuesday. Then we'll have an interview ninja, so how to prepare and answer interviews. I've done lots of those, so you'll get at least my take on that. And then finally, once you already have a job, you're in the company, what are some of the communication skills and negotiation skills that will help you, at least in those first months and like in the beginning of your career. So really looking forward to those sessions, and I'll open up for questions. And if not,
I like to start with a question. You've been interviewing a lot of people because Google's going through a crazy growth. Can you give us examples of some of the worst things that have happened in interviews, so that none of our students that are watching can
I can.
Mistakes? I think we can learn a lot from other people's mistakes. It's easy seeing the success stories, but the mistakes, we don't want to make the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think some of the worst things that happened to me, so I consciously, when I'm interviewing someone, I try to be in a mindset that's very neutral. So I don't want to come into the interview, no matter what's happened before, with a positive or negative perception of the candidate. And I don't think most people do that. In fact, I know most people don't do that. So most likely, if you're going into an interview, you can generate certain apathy or positive attitude towards you. One thing that's happened that I really dislike is when the candidates are late. So I've had recently, for example, somebody not show up to the interview, and then I had to call them on their phone and they fell asleep. So like that happens, that genuinely happens. Somebody that didn't answer the questions when I was interviewing, so they gave me really complicated answers to questions I didn't ask. The question that I asked never got answered, and I gave them multiple opportunities to answer the question. I would repeat the question even, and the answer never would come. So yeah, like we'll definitely talk about. We'll have a session especially on interviewing, and we'll go through that. But yeah, be on time. That's the first one.
So be on time and answer the question, because as an international student, you're getting used to what's the way, how honest can I be, and just depending on the culture, we like talking more than answering, going straight to the point. And in Australia, we like when people straight away answer the question. I can see someone that looks like he wants to ask us a question.
Who?
I don't know. He's got his camera on. One second. Let's figure out who is who. Chiara, can you help me figure out who it is?
Is it Eduardo?
Eduardo. Is it Eduardo that's with us?
Yeah.
Pete?
Hello, hello. I'm here.
Hello.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, I joined a little bit late today. Basically, I've been busy trying to do a bit of what we're talking here, what we're learning in the school. So I just finished a meeting I had with a customer in George Street. I'm very happy. But the thing is, today I've been doing a video production for them nearly a year ago, focusing to like providing the best image quality and audio quality, but the video wasn't related 100% with marketing advertisement. Okay, so I knew since I did that work, they will have another problem a year or 6 months later, which is why I contacted them a few weeks ago, asking how everything was. Obviously, I know because I'm following them social media. My business is related producing a video ad for social media, okay? And they say, okay, our video didn't get many views, blah, blah, all the problem they told me. And they want to see me again, all right? So today I've been there, and I say, okay, they start asking me a few questions. I give an answer very quickly because I've been doing a big research for like 4 years to go into this new career myself. But then I ask, who is your marketing team? Just me and her. And I say, okay, I know I can provide you more better service, focusing what you want because I understand how it works and blah, blah. But what I find out, they do not have someone like me. I'm not saying I'm the best or the only one, someone like me in that business to be focused 100% in social media advertisement. So I find out they need someone to fill that gap. And obviously they are interested, and we're talking not about money yet. We're talking more about, we know each other, we've been working in the future. Anyway, my question here is, going straight to the point after this little resume, is what I should do now. You know, I'm thinking like, okay, I should like offer them another propuesta, like propose, regarding my business, my product, my services. Why better try to deal with them because I want to work long term. Obviously, it doesn't matter one option, the other. Why better try to be employed from them because they are a huge business, but they are not. They are new in the using technology trend. The owner don't care too much, and it's a lot of issues. So I've been using implementation, blah blah blah. I did my selling, but now I know I don't know how to move forward.
Yeah, that's a good question. And I think when we do the last session on negotiation, that's like, we'll definitely touch on some of these topics. I think without knowing the company, like how it works for them, recruiting or headcounts, obviously each company having a headcount is not just paying someone to do something. There's a lot of legal requirements that go along with that, especially for international students. But without knowing that, you can always offer some freelancing and I'm not saying they're not, if they're looking for a job and that's the right path for you, then that's great. But also try to offer options. So when you're negotiating with someone and you want to sell something, a service in this case, best way to get the best outcome is to not focus on one thing and that's the only thing you're offering, is to offer multiple parallel options and then be willing to mix them up a bit. So if video production and audio production is your core, then offer packages where you'd have that, then offer another one where it's video audio production with social media management, then offer another one that's that plus social media management plus some other service that you could come up that you think that you've identified that they're lacking. And that might give you a good opportunity, like maybe call it like the silver, the bronze, and the gold package. And then you can make an offering very straight to the point, and make sure you're calling out the benefits of each. but yeah, that's something. Definitely come to the last session of this series, because we'll be talking a lot about that. I think you'll benefit from that.
I think one of the options you can give them is even one of the days working from their office, so they feel like they've got you as an employee, but it also gives you the probability and the opportunity of doing similar work for other people, because you could potentially get 5 businesses and you work every day at a different one. Because when we are consulting and freelancing, we still want to feel like that person's part of the business. And when you're building video content, you need to be physically in that space. So they're kind of getting cheaper than an employee, but they get the mindset of the freelancer, but it also gives you as a student the flexibility to study, to surf, to build your business. It's like many ticks. I love the option of the gold, bronze, and silver. And maybe one of the options is one day at the office.
Yeah, one day in the office is
because I don't want to take my speech too long. Obviously, I'm just want to go in. I don't want to spend 1 hour here talking with you guys only about myself and my problem. But what I mean, the thing is, I find out for me, it's not hard to close the deal. I go there and do my selling, and obviously I talk with 10 people and I sell only once, maybe. But what I mean, and then the customer call me back and blah, blah, blah. That is not the issue. The issue is I'm not making enough money often. So that is why now I'm, instead of like be doing labor and on the other side being a filmmaker or whatever, business idea, which I've been making a couple $100, and I'm talking about my price for one video, sometimes go up to $2,500, $3,000, and you will say, wow, how come? Well, it's become selling and promoting my product as a video marketing advertisement for ROI and blah, blah, blah. But the thing is, I do that sell once a year, once every 6 months. Then the people call me back or other customer with another opportunity, and I just hang out because they only offer me $500 and say, man, for $500, I don't even move. Maybe I need to start moving. I don't know, but I don't know. I'm in a stage where
it's what you put them for 500 and ask them to refer you to 5 more customers. So you get a testimonial. So if they're happy with your product and service, they could refer you, because most entrepreneurs have friends that are entrepreneurs that would need your service as well. So having some sort of earning a little bit less to have I did a presentation once with the students at Entrepreneurs around finance, and we did it for Study New South Wales as well. And it's understanding that, yes, you can earn $2,500, but if you're closing 2 contracts a year, that's $5,000. That's not enough. So it's better that you earn $500 every Monday, and the rest of the week you can be looking for bigger projects, but also don't overprice and get just 2 contracts a year. Have a price where you've got the stability, because you're not going to survive with just 2 projects. So I would have a combination of, I love Kika's ideas with the levels. I would have a combination of encouraging them to put 2 fixed for 1 day, but also, most importantly, just ask them for a referral. Because if you are as good as you're saying, they would happily send you more.
And having the gold, let's say the bronze, silver, and gold package, if they have like $500 is their budget, then show them what $500 gets them, but then show them also what $2,000 gets them and what $5,000 will get them. So how does the quality of the production change? How does the time you invest in that change? So that's the beauty of showing the packages. And also think of the core of your business. So is it beneficial for you as well to have the brand of those companies and the videos to showcase a portfolio of work that you've done to other customers, right? So don't think of the money only. There's also value in the portfolio and in the work that you've done, because that's also it will have your stamp, and it will have their stamp and their seal of approval because they've paid you to do that. So when you go to another customer, you show them that you've made 1 video for 1 company, they're not going to ask you how much they paid. But if you show that you've done 10 videos for 10 companies, they won't also ask you how much they paid, but then they'll see that you've done you have a lot more experience. So that also drives the value of what you're doing up. But I think the options is a good option. You don't need to spend 50 hours a week doing one video for someone that's just going to pay you $500 if that's not what you think you're worth. So just show them what $500 will get you of your time.
And there is
where you have a project spending 500 hours on a $500 video, that will just be the most incredible testimonial and the most incredible portfolio. That could be, if you've got the time, make it as amazing as possible. And then just ask for a referral. We had a student at Account Spinners that you guys know, Fernando, and he used to do that. He used to do it for a little bit cheaper than everybody else, but I asked for 5-star reviews. And his Airtasker exploded in inquiries a month later. So for a month, he didn't make money. But then afterwards, he was one of the most required because he had 5-star reviews across everywhere, and it changed the algorithm. So do consider that as well. But I think you're onto something good, Eduardo.
Yeah, I think my main problem is when I say production, I'm not meaning just the video, because the production, I mean my product. To develop my product take me, it's not cheap. You understand? Even when I charge you the $2,500, I'm not doing everything by myself. I am a team leader of making other people do the rest of the job. I'm getting, I manage the budget, I manage the camera, I manage everything, obviously, because I'm in charge, and we use my name and my ABN, whatever. But I'm not working by myself. So producing my products cost me more than $500. For example, I'm just using that number because there is where I feel I don't know what to do. You understand? I don't want to go like busy doing everything by myself, because also it's not what I'm looking for. Also going that expensive when I close some deal. All right, everybody having a party, but only once a year. So, and then they call me back, and I'm happy. But now I'm coming with a new proposal. I'm more like, okay, I'm going to guide you how you can do that by yourself, depending on your needs. So basically now I'm changing the structure. Obviously, they need to come back always for me. Even if you do the video, I need to edit it. Even if you have an editor and make the video, I need to write it. So I try to be always connected. But yeah, anyway. Yeah. I don't know.
You need to decide if you're in a freelance, if you want to build a business out of it, or if you want a part-time job because you're on a student visa, so you can only work part-time. So you need to make a decision on that, and just what Kiki was saying, mentalize that you want whatever it is, the deal that you want the most, and negotiate and show how you can add value because you've got the skills, like make the list that Kiki was talking about. And then, yeah, share with us your success. But work hard, nothing falls off the sky. You need to work hard and try different techniques. Cool, guys. So just spent a beautiful hour together. Thank you for everybody for joining us. I don't know if there's questions over the Facebook group, or we'll go back there and we'll answer them in a few minutes. Thank you for joining, and we'll see you guys at 5:15 Tuesday next week on the next session. Thank you so much, and thank you, Kiki, for logging in. Thanks, Kiara. Thank you, Eduardo. Bye-bye. Bye.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Thank you.
Bye.